Hi everyone, it's Rabbi Dr. Jack Cohen, dating coach and shadchan. Every once in a while, you need an inspirational story to motivate you in the world of shidduchim and dating. I have to share an amazing story with you. It's all about your time will come at the right time in terms of getting married. That Hashem has a predestined time for everyone to find their soulmate. A few years back, a Hasidic fellow took a flight from New York to Tel Aviv. It was like now, January, cold, wintry night. Outside Ben Gurion Airport, there was a line of taxi cabs. So he hops into one of the cabs, and he gets in the back, and the man says to him, where are you going? And he says to him, Avuka. So the taxi driver says, what's Avuka? I never heard of that. I know this country from top to bottom. Never heard the word Avuka. He says, judging by the kind of Hasidic hat you have, it looks like you're a Chassid of Vishnitz. He had a velvety round hat. He goes, no, actually, I'm a Chassid of Bells. So he says to him, what Rebbe are you visiting? He goes, I'm not visiting a Rebbe. I'm visiting the burial place of a big tzaddik that passed away thousands of years ago. He says, who's that? He goes, Rabbi Yonatan ben Uziel. I'm going to the grave of Rabbi Yonatan ben Uziel, which is famously known as Amuka. So the driver says, oh, you got it wrong. It's not Avuka you want to go to. You want to go to Amuka. What's the problem? You having a problem getting married? He says, how old are you? He tells him, so the Hasidic man tells him, I'm 25. So the Israeli cab driver says, what's the big deal? I have a 30-year-old son still at home, doesn't know where he's going in life. He has no rush to get married. So the Hasidic guy looks at the cab driver and he says to him, you have to understand, in my circles, in the Hasidic world, by 17 and a half, when you're 17 and a half years old, they start already looking for a prospective wife for you. By 18, you're under the chuppah. By 20, if you're not married, you're depressed. By 22, you're on medication. By 25, you're so numb, you're anesthetized, you don't even feel it. So I'm very depressed. The Belzer Rebbe, who lives in Eretz Yisrael, came to visit in New York, and I went to visit him. I cried my heart. I told him I need to get married. So he told me, go to Israel, go to Amuka, and then go to the grave of Aaron and Belz. Okay, so off they go. It's the middle of the night. They get to Amuka, which is up north, and I've been there several times, most recently in September, when we did some videoing there. And once you go and travel through this snaky road to the top of the mountain, to the bottom of the mountain, you get there. So the taxi driver drops him off, and the young Hasidic guy goes to daven. An hour and a half later, the taxi driver goes to see what's going on, and the man is shedding tears, begging Hashem to grant him his soulmate. So he picks up the Psalms, the Tehillim, and he reads with him. And after they climb back into the car, he goes, the taxi driver says to him, you must be wiped out. Let's go to a hotel. He goes, no. I have to follow the recipe of the Rebbe. The next thing is we have to go to Yerushalayim. So the cab driver says to him, I don't get it. We should have gone to Yerushalayim first and then travel to the north. This is doing it backwards. And the Hasidic guy looks at the taxi driver and goes, we have to follow the exact recipe of the Rebbe. So off they go to Yerushalayim. When they get there, the winds are howling. It's cold. It's freezing. There's rain. But the man is persistent and he's going to do what he has to do. He gets out of the cab. He walks against the rain, holding his hat. He goes there and he writes what's called a kavittel, a request on paper to the tzaddik that he should be a representative of him in heaven, and ask Hashem to grant him his soulmate and seek to that request. So he does that. On the way back, he's fighting against the wind when suddenly a gust of wind comes, takes his hat. The hat goes flying, but it's like a tire because Hasidic hats are circular. And is rolling. So meanwhile, the cab driver sees what's going on. He runs out after the hat. So both of them are chasing the hat in the graveyard, and they finally catch up with the hat. Once they come back, the hat had on it, very interesting. When he was coming back, the hat had all these wet requests of people on it. Now it had one piece of paper on it. So when they get back into the cab driver looks at it and he goes, "This is crazy. There's one piece of paper on your hat. Why one? Open it up and see what's in it." So the Hasidic guy says, I can't do that. I can't look at someone's private requests. The Israeli guy, he doesn't care. He has gumption. He says, okay, if you're not going to do it, I am. He opens the piece of paper, this wet piece of paper, and he reads, and he's in absolute shock. A Hasidic young woman who's 24 years old writes the following: Dear Rav Aaron, I'm 25 years old. I'm very old to be single as a Hasidic girl. Could you please ask Hashem to grant me my soulmate? And she writes her phone number there. At that point, the cab driver looks at her and he goes, you know what? The parents' phone number are there. Call them up and see what's going on. Hasidic says, we don't do that in my circles. We don't just call the family directly. He goes, listen, you didn't take me on this wild goose chase all night for nothing. I demand, call them up or I'm not moving this cab. So the Hasidic young man takes his cell phone and he dials it. He starts talking in Yiddish, tells obviously the father of the girl what happened, the whole crazy episode that took place, and he's getting comfortable. After 20 minutes, he hangs up and he's smiling, and the cab driver says, no, what happened? He goes, we're going back to the airport. He says, why? He goes, because tomorrow I have a date with the young lady. I'm going to meet her in what's called the Bishol, which is a Hasidic way of having a date. So they get back to the airport. At the airport, the Hasidic young man takes out his wallet, pulls out 5 crisp $500 bills. He goes, here, this is for you. He goes, what? That's a lot of money. He goes, we believe in paying someone for helping facilitate a shidduch. Perhaps you were the shadchan. So I need to give you shidduch geld, which is the money for having created the shidduch or facilitated the shidduch. To make a long story short, 2 months later, the Israeli cab driver receives an invitation to the wedding of this man and this woman that he helped facilitate. So the lesson and the moral of the story is, ladies and gentlemen, sometimes it could be that you could travel the world, but the person that's meant for you is 5 minutes away from where you live, and it's going to happen at the time that Hashem wants it to happen. May it be Hashem's will that everyone listening to this video on Tu B'Shvat, or Tu B'Shvat's coming up, should be able to merit that they should have their Yeshua, their salvation, and get married as quickly as possible. If you need help in dating or any shalom bite matter or getting matched up, simply reach out to me at 305-206-1916 or Dr. Jack Cohen 18 at